Hello and good morning. It is a good morning. It's about 10:15. Mr. OS, because he's working on Abu Dhabi time, he's asking me to shoot quite early. But it doesn't matter. It's Sunday. It's a beautiful Sunday. It looks quite nice there as well, as it always is. So how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Ayub. Thank you. It is quite nice. Weather's definitely easing now that we're in November. Should have a good 4 months of steady weather. Still very hot in the afternoons, don't get me wrong. But very, very pleasant in the evenings. Very nice. Yes, Sunday afternoon already for us. 2, so I think it's about 10 UK time, which makes some of these games very difficult to watch, Ayub. I must assure you, especially Champions League and Chelsea yesterday kicking off at midnight. But all good fun, all part of the experience. How are you doing this weekend? No
Not too
doubt
bad
a
at
little
all.
bit nervous today.
Yeah, I will be. I mean, it's not too bad now. It's 10:15, so well, it's about 10 past 10 at the moment, so it's still about 3 or 4 hours to go. But it's going to be a massive game. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. It's going to be a huge game for Leeds against Forest. But talking about big games, I mean, there's a game playing over my shoulder. It's Sunderland versus Arsenal. Absolutely fantastic game. Really, really enjoyable watch, and a surprising result, or maybe not. But what was your take on the game? Because I presume you expected 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, look, expected is, I think you would agree, Ayub, in this league, you can't expect to take anything. Yes, you know you're the better team, so there's always the hope that that will play out on a football pitch. But we know football isn't like that. You've still got to do all of the basics, have a little bit of luck, and hope things fall your way, which for the most part this season for Arsenal, it has. They've obviously got a few injury issues, but on the whole, they've been doing really well. And yeah, yesterday was an opportunity to go into Sunderland, where I don't think they've lost this season. And obviously, they are the story of the season so far as well, to try and see if you can nullify some of the kind of atmosphere and really put your stamp on things. And Arsenal didn't quite manage that yesterday. So you've got to give Sunderland huge credit. First, just focusing on Sunderland, I know you'll speak about them a little bit more, Yup. In the end, I can't begrudge them the point. I thought they were the inferior team. I think you could tell that for large parts of the game itself. But you'd expect that Arsenal's team and squad is littered, although they had a lot of injuries, littered with world-class talent. But it's an interesting game to watch in the sense of what you can do if you still do some of those basics correct, which Sunderland did. They had a clear game plan, which was to play direct. Any chance they got to play free kicks long into the box, throws long into the box, they did. So I'm comfortable with at least a manager who's got a clear idea of how he thinks he can hurt the opposition, and hurt the opposition. He did. The disappointment from Arsenal will be that, first off, it was a non-entity from Arsenal. Let's be honest. Offensively, they had nothing. I thought Marino was playing way too much, dropping into midfield when he should have been more selfless, staying up front, or selfish, staying up front, I should say, to give more space for the midfielders. But Sunderland, to their credit, played smartly. They got the goal from a very basic route one type situation. They won every duel. They won the first one past Rice, the second one past Gabriel, 1-2. It was as basic a goal as you're going to get, but again, a clear identity in terms of how they wanted to hit Arsenal. Arsenal huffed and puffed first off, but for me, it was a non-entity. Second off, I thought Arsenal really poured it on very well. And you'd think, not necessarily a sign of champions, but a sign of digging in when you have to. It's a tough place to go, Europe. I think a lot of teams will find it hard to go there, well organized. But once you start to turn it around and you're thinking, right, can we get a third? Can we just finish it off? And Arsenal didn't quite do that. So you're always at the mercy of, let's say, some either moment of brilliance or a mistake, and that's exactly what happened. I think the disappointment for Arsenal you will be that they lost 2 goals to situations that they feel are meat and drink for them. Long balls into the box or crosses into the box. But yesterday, Arsenal, all throughout the game, I thought defensively were a little anxious. They were not quite on it. There were some situations where Raya had to bail them out. And then the goal happens. I'm going to give credit to the striker because it's a very, let's say, creative finish, I think is probably the right word. I don't really blame Gabriel too much. He contested the ball. He went for the header. Fair enough. The goalkeeper, unfortunately, has got involved when he probably doesn't have to. And look, he's not a goalkeeper who makes many mistakes, made a few good saves. But I think on that one occasion, he made a big mistake, especially as he was coming out to catch it, which means he didn't really have the wherewithal or understanding of what the situation was. If he came out like Peter Schmeichel and tried to just block it, he may well have made the save. But I think because he was coming in for the catch, he wasn't in a position to block the shot, let's say. So a mistake from Raya, no two ways about it. But again, he also made some critical saves. So Arsenal yesterday just weren't quite on it defensively. They looked a little vulnerable. Sunderland played very direct, so give them credit. Uh, is that a huge goal in the grand scheme of things? I guess you have to say it is, are you? Because of the way the fixtures are falling, because of the fact that Arsenal will have a lot of key players back after the international break. So imagine if they'd gone into it with another victory, guaranteed one of their rivals dropping points in the big game later on at the Etihad. You've got to say, oh, that would have put them in a real good position. So it's a huge goal. I mean, I don't think you should understate it, but do I think it's fatal anyway? No, of course not. You can't win every game of football in the Premier League. Do I think Arsenal have merited the run that they've been on? They were probably due a draw you at some point where, they've played within the margins of certain games. So give credit to Sunderland. From Arsenal's perspective, it was an opportunity to really put a marker down in terms of creating some distance with guaranteed points dropped for one of their rivals today, if not both rivals. So very disappointing. I think one small point within the game where I think Arteta made a small mistake, in my opinion, was I think he was caught at the end of Youb about how to do his substitutions. He brought on Mosquera to give the additional centre back, knowing that balls were going to be peppered into the box. I mean, the first header they lose for the goal was contested by two players. So for both of them to lose the header for the knockdown for the first duel is disappointing. But I wish he would have just made a couple of changes just to show certain things up and just bring some fresh legs on. So I'm thinking Nwaneri, maybe Miles Lewis-Skelly for Trossard and one other, just for freshness, because they've had three games in the space of a week. So I think that's one he'll perhaps look back on and say, could I've just made a change to get some legs on just right at the end, because you could tell Arsenal were just flagging a little bit. But yeah, look, all in all, I don't think I can begrudge Sunderland a point. I thought Arsenal were the better team, but I'd expect them to be the better team. But I think from an Arsenal perspective, it's still a point. It's away at Sunderland. They've got a way of playing. They've got a way of competing, and you're not going to win every game of football. So they didn't lose the game. They drew. You go into the international break, they're still going to have a relatively healthy lead. And they'll look to kick on against Spurs and Chelsea next up. So yeah, all in all, an enthralling watch. A good difference in the way the teams approached it. I thought Arsenal second half, I thought you did pour it on nicely. I thought they had good ways to create opportunities, which bodes well for them in the future. But what I would say as an Arsenal fan is you can't just give up halves of football like they did in the first half, where they created pretty much next to nothing against the team where the atmosphere was into it, the crowd were into it, the players were really sticking true to how they play from this particular manager's instructions. So yeah, good game of football in the Premier League, what the Premier League's all about. I think for both teams, honours shared, fair enough in the end of the day.
That's well summed up, and I think you're right. Arsenal were certainly in the second half much the better side or footballing side, but hugely impressive performance. I think first off, Arsenal were caught off guard. I just don't think they expected that sort of intensity, and they looked quite ordinary. They looked quite rushed, quite hurried, which is not the Arsenal that we've seen. So maybe there's a template for sides sort of going forward, that maybe this is perhaps the modus operandi. But in the second half, I just thought they stepped it up a little bit. I think they perhaps sort of respected Sunderland. Not to say that they disrespected Sunderland, but I think they understood that there's a reason why Sunderland are in the position that they're in. It's not just through fluke, through luck. It's through endeavour, hard work, and there's a certain direct quality to it. And I think second half, they played it much more quickly. And really, when Trossard scored, who I thought was outstanding, I've got to be honest, but he was certainly for me my sort of man of the match for Arsenal. And once it became 2-1, I really did not think, even though there were the odd occasions where when Sunderland broke, there was always a risk. But I just thought that Arsenal have got so much experience. They are a very, very difficult team to score against. But I think fully justified. I thought Sunderland were outstanding. I mean, it was the attitude of every single individual that was on the park for Sunderland. The crowd. I mean, it is a Premier League club. It's got 50,000 plus. It's got a raucous atmosphere. It's got a really, really good history. It's a club that deserves to be in the Premier League. And I thought I was very, very impressed. I mean, I went through, as you do, the Leeds Twitter sphere after the game. Every single Leeds fan was absolutely going nuts because This is what we should have been doing. This is exactly the template. I mean, we always talk about what is the secret to staying in the Premier League. I mean, this is just an amazing example, and really, that's really what I want to talk about now because it's a remarkable story. I mean, Sunderland they've obviously been a Premier League side, so it's not as if it's a side that's been in the doldrums for years and years and years, but they certainly have been in the doldrums. There was a wonderful sort of documentary that's been done as well about the about Sunderland. So it's a club with history, and it's a club that I mean, I talked about them deserving to be in the Premier League, and they do. I think the fan base is huge. But what I've done is gone through because Regis Labrie, I mean, I think is outstanding, and I mentioned it last in the playoff final. I mean, I was watching it with my family, and I sort of said that I don't want Sunderland, and it's something I've talked before about that I didn't want Sunderland in the Premier League for selfish reasons because I knew that they had a coach and a setup much more geared towards survival in the Premier League. That's what I thought. I didn't think they were going to be a success in the Premier League. I thought that they'd certainly survive in the Premier League. So I've done something that I don't often do, research. So I've looked upon Regis Labrie, and if you look at his history, there's nothing outstanding. I mean, he's not been a stellar player. He's had a very sort of nondescript playing career. And even his coaching, I mean, he was at Lorient, and he got them relegated after 2 seasons. I mean, he started quite well, so it was strange. I was thinking, well, he obviously must be a coach with a lot of pedigree, but he isn't. But what he does have, and this is where it reminded me of Arsene Wenger or Arsene Who when Arsenal brought him, because he was, I think, at Grampus 8 in Japan. So
Japan, yeah.
Yeah. And it's very similar. This is a very intelligent man. He's got, I think, a doctorate in sports psychology and sort of biometrics and all that kind of stuff. So he's obviously very, very sort of shrewd, very sharp, very intelligent, and very much it gives me the Arsene Wenger vibe because I think he's somebody that is very, very analytical, and I think this is the perfect marriage. Sunderland with an owner as well. The owner is only 20. I didn't know that until yesterday when I was having a conversation with my lad, and he sort of said to me that it's a very, very young owner. And then when I've read up about this owner, he comes from a very wealthy background. And again, that's the type of owner that you want. Sometimes when an owner is a self-made man, there's a certain ruthlessness, and it's all about making money. This guy's sort of been born into wealth. He's he's had an extremely privileged background. So maybe there's almost an idealism because perhaps he doesn't sort of value money as much as somebody who's really had to work hard to get money. So maybe he's a dreamer, and this is exactly what you want. This is the perfect sort of combination. It's an owner who's young, who's ambitious, who's visionary, and it was a really good quote. I think one of the owners, it's co-owned. He's a majority shareholder, and he was talking about top 10. He wasn't just talking about staying in the Premier League. He was talking about top 10. Complete contrast to Leeds United, where it's minimal spend, no vision. We've got a manager who's always talking about newly promoted side. So the mindset is completely different. So I think this is a remarkable story. The recruitment has been outstanding, with the icing on the cake, your former man, Granit Xhaka. I mean, that was a inspirational performance, and you could see his almost like a general on the pitch. So absolutely outstanding. I think this is a club not just for this year. I think this is a club with an owner who has expectations and visions to go way beyond just staying in the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, where I'll cut Leeds some slack to some extent is Sunderland would have still said at the start of the season that 17th would have been success for them. Whether they would have articulated that publicly, privately, it doesn't really matter. Leeds and Sunderland's objective was the same, which is to finish 17th or above, simply because data tells you that the promoted clubs generally tend to have a difficult time. If not in the first year, then the second year, we've had obviously back-to-back seasons with the promoted clubs going straight back down. I'm with you, though, in terms of the manager and the setup there. Yesterday, he was asked about the advertising hoardings being a little bit tighter to prevent Arsenal from making inroads from a set-piece perspective. And, he said tongue-in-cheek that must have been the wind that brought the advertising hoardings in. But he's got a nice kind of temperament, a nice personality on the side. You can tell it's a very well-driven, organised team. They took some risks, cost them the first goal from Saka, but they were playing pretty much man-to-man because they felt that's the best way to play against Arsenal. When they got the ball, they played it direct because, hey, get it up the pitch, cause some situations from there, which they duly did. But I'm with you on the overall. They'll stay up, and that's testament to them. It's in early November, and they are guaranteed pretty much to stay up. They'll probably finish. I don't know if they'll finish top 10 because I still expect them to have difficult times, a difficult run, just because that's the nature of the league. If you're not one of those if top tier clubs go through wobbles, then for sure, average to middling teams definitely will go through certain wobbles. So they will perhaps fall away a little bit. You'd have to expect that because even yesterday on the pitch, there's a gulf in talent. I mean, that's pretty obvious when you watch the game. But again, it's testament to the coach that he's got them well organized, well driven, and has a clear identity of how he thinks he can hurt the opposition. He didn't approach it as a free hit. They kept scrapping. And even I was thinking, and I'm a nervous Arsenal fan, thinking 2-1 up. Come on, guys, let's somehow see this out. And yet they still created situations where they should have got back into the game, even perhaps before that they did. So credit to Sunderland, credit to the overall setup, but credit that they're going to stay up, like I said, in early November so they can really kick on. And you're right, Xhaka's great, obviously made a big contribution against Everton last week. Emotional affair yesterday against his former club. The only thing I will say is you could tell Sunderland were pressing a lot yesterday, and that's one of the reasons why I was a bit frustrated with Mourinho because he was being so, again, selfish for me dropping into midfield. Now, if you can imagine how Sunderland were playing at Ayub, now if you have Gyökeres up top as a battering ram, running the channels and forcing defenders into mistakes, which he does, he's very good at that. I think Arsenal would have had much more joy in that first half because they would have probably been on a lot of 2-on-2, 3-on-3 situations, but Mourinho probably just didn't play the right type of game, in my opinion, for that type of setup. But anyway, credit to Sunderland. I think the story is about Sunderland. I'm just going to ask you very quickly from an Arsenal perspective, and I'm quite phlegmatic. You can't win all the games. You'd love to win all of them and put some good distance before the huge game at the Etihad. But I guess you'd agree that nothing's really lost. It's a draw. It's a tough place to go. You've not lost, so there's still some momentum. And I guess now you kick on with still a guaranteed few points lead heading into the middle stage of the season. Would you agree?
I mean, if they win the league, nobody's going to think about this game. But the reason why I want to put just a little bit more focus on this, Arsenal have been sort of flirting with winning the league for a number of years. Sunderland are a brand new side. I mean, this is a side that's been promoted. I think 8-9 players who started the game yesterday didn't play in the Championship with Sunderland. So it's a brand new side. So in terms of, I mean, in terms of the golfing class, it was obvious. I mean, I'm not for 1 minute saying that there was any parity in terms of the quality, but you would expect Arsenal to have navigated any difficulties that were faced by this brand new side, because we're always talking about players bedding in. This is a whole team that's had to bed in. I expected, even with the players missing. I mean, you're right. Mourinho was awful. I thought he was very average. I mean, I don't know what he brings. I mean, I don't know. You obviously have seen him much more often than me. I thought he was a liability. Anybody else would have been better than Mourinho, I thought, yesterday. But I think Arsenal should be very, very disappointed, especially once going 2-1 up. I think it's one, as I said, if they win the league, nobody's going to talk about this game. But maybe it could be an opening for other teams to think, well, look, let's look at that first half. Let's analyse that. And maybe there are ways of approaching the Arsenal. I mean, I said to you, I think about a week ago, that Arsenal were the best club side in the world, and I still sort of maintain that view. But there's a slight chink after watching yesterday's game because I have not seen this season uh, Arsenal as hustled uh, as this. And it genuinely was. I think that first half was a real sort of shock and an eye opener uh, for Arsenal because they've had it very easy. They've been cruising through games, and yesterday there's a certain physicality that I think they found quite. And usually Arsenal are always renowned for being a very strong physical side. I think yesterday Sunderland had the better of them. For large parts in terms of the physicality, so I think it's a game that I wouldn't just sort of brush away and just so it's a bad day at the office. It's one where maybe, perhaps it just needs for other teams maybe a little chink of light to say, well, look, there is a way that you can approach playing Arsenal. They're not invincible. They're a damn good side and probably are one of the best sides in the world. But if we approach it right, there's an opportunity.
Yeah, I think well summarized. Exactly what I took from it as well, which is that it's going to be difficult to consistently play through Arsenal because they just have sheer size and sheer physicality in terms of their ability to win duels, and block certain angles and all the rest of it. Like, it's just difficult to play through them because they are structured to defend, right? Let's be honest, the entire team. So playing through them consistently is difficult unless you do it in transition, but they try and avoid those situations as well. But you're right. I looked at that and said, if I'm another team thinking, I can't match this team in terms of talent, so what I can maybe match them on is bypass the midfield, go long, commit the occasional defenders to those free kicks and throw-in situations, and take my chances there. They caused Arsenal all types of issues, a few from open play, but mainly around the whole kind of set pieces, crosses, and all the rest of it. So, yeah, will it give some ideas? Let's say that, hey, if we just commit to some situations where free kicks on the halfway line, instead of recycling it, let's pump everyone up. Let's put it in the box. Let's see what happens. I think those type of situations is what you're talking about. I agree with you. I think those are questions Arsenal will have to continue to answer. But I'm glad that they have to answer them. Again, I come back to it. Winning Premier Leagues is not meant to be easy. It's not meant to be straightforward. Do I think Arsenal still are the best team in the league right now? Yes, I do. But, they've got a point. And it's away from home. It's a tough ground. If they'd won, I think most people right now, not me, but would be saying, right, it's difficult to see who's going to win it because they've just gone on this run now and won another game from come from behind. But the fact that they've been, kind of pulled back to a draw, it still puts them on edge, keeps them keen, and it should be. Arsenal have to show that they can get over the line. That's the test this season. That's it. It's not about defense and conceding less goals than that famous Chelsea team. Nobody really cares. That's just side notes and side commentaries and what have you. What matters for Arsenal, for this manager, for this team, for this club, is can they get over the line? They've got a great opportunity because I've not seen anything in this league where I see a team better than them right now. Yeah. My eyes tell me that. So it's just about going there, going out on the pitch and proving it. You're right. There were some vulnerabilities there yesterday. There's absolutely no doubt. They were not at their sharpest defensively. They weren't winning all those duels that they ordinarily would win. So they'll have to go on a little bit of a run to start to continue to put a little bit of distance between them and their nearest rivals. But yeah, let's see. Took a draw. Fair enough in the end.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Okay. Let's talk about the midday game. In terms of a spectacle, footballing spectacle, it may not have been the greatest game, but really entertaining. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed that game. Tottenham versus Man United. Few grumblings. Tottenham fans not quite happy, and it certainly isn't the Spurs that I expected under Thomas Frank. I expected them to be on the front foot, play quite aggressively, especially at home, but they've struggled at home. So that it's a game that probably Man United thought that they should have won. It's a game when Spurs were 2-1 up. They probably thought that they'd bagged it because it was a very late goal. But in the end, perhaps 2-2 is a fair result. What was your take on the game? Did you watch the game?
Yeah, I did watch the game. It was a very unusual game. You're absolutely right. Normally, Spurs United is must watch. I mean, it's two teams that have been, in a sense, similar over the last 5 to 10 years, in the sense of last year they both struggled in the league, both got to the Europa League final, obviously, but both renowned even in recent times to putting up a good show in terms of as a spectacle, like you said. So yeah, I did watch the game. It was 4:30 our time. here in the UAE. And you're absolutely right. For the longest time, it looked like United, without having done much in that first half, were leading, nicely worked goal, poor defending. I mean, I think it was Ismail Assar, no, Ismail Assar, Pepper Sarr, is it? What's his first name? But where he refused to clear it. I mean, it was shocking. I couldn't believe what he did there. Like, he's got to get rid of that. You're under the pump. Trying to play in the box with about 12, 14 men in the box just seems ridiculous at that stage. Cost them big time. Good finish from Mbeumo, Player of the Month, I think, in October as well. So, yeah, good head. And you're thinking United, without having done much, are you? But just going to ease into this victory because in the second half, Spurs, I mean, they got better because they created some situations. Richarlison was having an absolute mare all game, really struggling to. You could see the crowd was getting on his back. He was making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. But give Thomas Frank some credit. He made some substitutions. Tell made a big difference just in terms of making them lively. Odegaard, you saw him on the left-hand side of you, starting to beat his man, creating some situations. And that's the Spurs that the fans want, getting to the byline, creating situations, flashing it across goal. Great finish for the first goal, albeit with a deflection. Second goal was also, give Richarlison credit. I'm not sure that's going in without his intervention in terms of bringing it just back into this side of the post. So you're thinking at that stage, and for sure, Richarlison definitely thought it when he took off his shirt that this is it. It's not, unfortunately, it's not the first time it's happened to him as well. A lot of Liverpool fans will remind you that he did it at Anfield as well when the late Diogo Jota turned it around 4-3, I think it was at the end. But yeah, I think you're thinking you've won the game. And not only that, there was a stroke of luck after that because I think Sesko went off injured. So United had used up all their substitutions and they were down to 10 men. So you're thinking really cruel blow for United not to be able to kind of get back into it when you've used all your substitutions. And Sesko's going through on goal. If you remember when he made the injury, I'm not sure what he was doing. It's a bit indecisive. I don't know if he'd already had the injury just in the running of that situation, but he should have got a shot away at least. But United fought. Set piece, no one marking. I mean, this is a joke, and I know it's a difficult one for the goalkeeper to get to, Ayub, but I've always said, and you might say, well, David Raya tried to do that yesterday, but David Raya's was an open play situation. But when it comes from a corner, I want my goalkeeper last minute of the game saying, right, guys, clear path for me. I'm coming out punching this. I don't care what it takes because I want my goalkeeper in the last dying embers of the game just dominating that situation. And listen, it's gone to the far post. Nobody's marking. Keeper ends up being rooted to his line, but you're not going to save it. I know he's tried to make an attempt. You're not going to save it from that close in. So give De Ligt credit. Spurs just choosing not to mark anyone. Thomas Frank's had it difficult there at Spurs. He's had some critical injuries. He's obviously lost some key players this season. But with the injuries to various stages, but Kulusevski was missing Bergwell. Obviously, Madison's not playing a part. I think some of these guys are returning. Kudus missing yesterday. It's been tough. It's been tough sledding. It's as bad as I've seen them last week against Chelsea. And this, they improved after the break and with some of the substitutions. But still, not to get a win in that situation will really frustrate them significantly. They've got Arsenal next, I think, after the international break. Okay, that's a fixture in and of itself because it's the North London derby, so maybe form goes out the window. And they won't mind, I think, playing at Arsenal, counter-attack, play with a little bit of, let's say, freedom, so to speak, with Arsenal, with a bit more pressure on this season, given their lofty ambitions. So let's see. But from a Spurs perspective, I think they'll just be disappointed. They've got to see that situation out. They've got to get a win for their manager. There's, like you said, a few grumblings just because of the lack of, I guess, just they don't look lively enough. They don't look potent enough. They don't seem to have the ideas about how to go about trying to create opportunities. Without Kudus yesterday, they really looked limp. The amount of times they put crosses into row 10, floating over goals. The crowd, I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but second half started and I was looking at the opposite end of the ground for about 8-9 minutes. It was like large amounts of empty seats, and I was thinking, Spurs United. I mean, it's not a cheap ticket. Trust me, I've been to that stadium. So yeah, it just feels a little bit like as though the crowd's waiting for the players are perhaps waiting for the crowd to lift them. There seems to be a little bit of, like I said, nervousness in the air for United. Look, it's a draw. They salvaged it at the end. They'll feel that that's an opportunity missed because that Spurs team was going through the motions. I also think United, just very quickly, you stop playing. I don't understand why they stopped playing after that first goal. They created nothing in the second half pretty much until De Ligt scored. And they'll really see that as an opportunity missed to really hurt that team, especially a team that was a little bit nervous in front of their own crowd. So, yeah, look, all in all, 2-2, kind of an entertaining affair, or at least an entertaining last 15 minutes. Both managers they'll probably take the draw, given that United were in a little bit of form, and Spurs just needed to avoid defeat to some extent after the debacle against Chelsea last week. But yeah, question mark still to answer. I would say Amorim today is sitting in a better space than, let's say, Thomas Frank is. I think Thomas Frank's got a few questions to answer. He'll hope that the return of some of those players will deliver some of those better performances. From a United perspective, I think it's an opportunity missed to try and still solidify them in those top four spots where they'll still have a fight, in my opinion, come the end of the season. So yeah, entertaining game with a few subplots to boot.
Yeah, I was thinking about Thomas Frank and his Brentford days. I mean, I sort of watch him. I watched his Brentford side from the Championship, and he was always expansive. In fact, he was probably the one coach who played the most attractive football, always on the front foot. I mean, he did have a plethora of good players, but he had a really nice style about him. I don't know whether, I mean, again, this is just it's opinions, but whether the Spurs job, he sort of, this is always the problem at Brentford. There's not too many eyes in a sense. He's certain amount of freedom. The expectation at Spurs is very, very different. I don't know whether that's weighing down on him. He sort of feels that he's now at a big club. He has to deliver. So maybe now, rather than just being spontaneous, being free, being relaxed, being loose, he's somewhere sort of hamstrung by sort of, especially with what happened last season, because the performances and the season was so dire. He almost sort of feels that, right, I need to make my mark. I need to put a stamp on this, but I need to get the right result. So it's almost like there's a conservatism that I've never seen Thomas Frank employ in his Brentford days. So I don't know whether, I mean, as I said, it's an opinion, but it just seems a very different style of football that I've been used to under Thomas Frank. Now there are players missing, some good players missing,
Yeah.
but still, you'd expect at least him to sort of have to maintain the style that he's had, and that's playing on the front foot. So maybe he needs to sort of address that, because if you're not playing good football, then you've got to get the results. So if you don't get the results and not playing well, then you start getting the fans getting on your back. At least if you can see good football, you can sort of say, well, look, there's something happening here. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to be the case. But I just want to talk about not Amarin, but one of the players that he's signed, Sesko. He's been hugely underwhelming at the moment. I think it was 1-1 at the time. I mean, the incident where he got injured, I mean, that was awful. He should have scored. I mean, I just it was a good challenge, a good tackle. But any good Premier League centre forward scores that goal. I it still looks like there's a lot of players at Manchester United I look at. They just don't look like Manchester United players. I think Amarin has done all right this season. I think he's certainly arrested the slide. There seems to be some progression, but I still look at a lot of the personnel and I'm thinking these are not the sort of players that are going to take Man United to the next level. I think Cunha and Mbeumo were absolutely fantastic signings. Sesko, again, I'm not sure how much he was bought for, but he just looks like a big lump. Absolutely useless. And I think that injury yesterday, I mean, it just typifies him. He misses an opportunity and he gets injured to boot. So what's your thoughts on some of the players that are playing for Man United? Do you still think there's a lot of work for Amarin to do?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work for him to do depending on what their objectives are, which is that if you claim to be the biggest club in the world or one of the top two, three biggest clubs in the world, you have to be competing for top honors consistently, and they haven't done that for the longest time. So yeah, there's a lot of work to do in terms of climbing and scaling that particular mountain. In terms of players, the way I look at players is if you're going to be the 1% of the 1% of the 1% and get to the very top of your craft, which is, let's be honest right now, if you watch the Champions League, Ayub, the Premier League is where it's at. And what I mean by that is that I always feel that some Champions League games are much easier than Premier League games. And I'm talking about even when you're playing, let's say, a Burnley or a Palace at the weekend, you're thinking, that's going to be tougher than maybe Atletico Madrid in midweek or what have you. So this idea that Champions League, yes, when you get to the knockout stages, I'm not disputing that that's a different level when you're playing your Bayerns, when you're playing your Barca's, when you're playing your Reals. But the Premier League is where it's at. But if you get to the top of your craft where you're playing for big teams in the Premier League, which is, the very best league in the world, you have to have a certain healthy amount of arrogance as a footballer. It has to be any position. goalkeeper, centre back. You just have to, because you've done so much to get to that particular point where you've scaled the top of your profession, that you have to show that you can wear the shirt comfortably. Now, the thing about Sesko right now is he just looks meek. Now that's fine. It's first season. I'm going to cut him a lot of slack. He's a young lad. He's come for big money. He's wearing a big shirt. What disappointed me most yesterday was he's made the run. Get a shot away. What's he waiting for? I don't understand. And when I watched him for his previous club, when, remember, Arsenal were linked with him heavily, so I was watching a lot of his highlights. And the one thing that struck me about all of his goals, I think he was playing for Leipzig. I don't want to get that wrong, but one of the things that I saw consistently with him, if you said to me, what's his number one, not say trait, but what's the one thing that speaks volumes or stands out the most, I'd say it's his ability to do things instinctively. It's as though he doesn't think, like he's taking shots 30 yards, bang, or finishing it around the goalkeeper, I think, has Manuel Neuer, whoever it was. You know, he does things off the cuff a little bit, like just, which is what you want from a striker. You have to give him some license to try and score some goals. I'm happy with, what's that famous comment from Alan Shearer? What's the best advice you've ever been given? And he said something along the lines of, be as selfish as you can be for the sake of the team within that 18-yard box. And I get it. For strikers, you have to give them some freedom to take some ownership. So that's the one thing I didn't see in that chance. Now it's one chance. I'm not going to microanalyze it to death, but I was like, get a shot away. You've got 2 yards on him. Just get any shot away. There's a good chance if you get it on target, it goes under the keeper or whatever. So it just exemplifies how it's going for him. That fact he's got injured. Look, he's got questions to answer. It's come for a big price tag, but I'd give him a little bit of time to bed into a team that's hopefully, from their perspective, trending in the right direction. They are definitely trending in the right direction. So he'll get a little bit of leeway to some extent. But whereas when you watch Mbeumo, the way he's playing, the way he's carrying himself, Cunha, I mean, he's always never show of confidence. But these players are wearing that United shirt and thinking, yeah, I go do my thing. Fernandes, we know, he's a naturally confident boy. Sesko just feels as though, I don't know if I belong at this level, or at least that's what the body language that I get now. He scored against Brentford. So he's just going to have to find that little bit of healthy arrogance that you need. You've been chosen to play for this football club for a reason. You go there, you take the game by the scruff of the neck and start taking some chances. Shoot from 30 yards. Do things off the cuff. It's fine. You've got full license. So I think that's the thing he's going to have to slowly bed in, that he doesn't have to wait for the perfect opportunity. He can, be that kind of beast up front who can create those opportunities himself. So yeah, look, big question marks, no doubt, but it's still very much in his infancy in terms of at Manchester United. So he'll want to have a good end to this season. Let's say a good second half of this season. It's Manchester United. It's the number 9 shirt at Manchester United in terms of that position. So you don't get tons of time. They will happily quickly move on, but definitely question marks to answer for me, more from a body language perspective and more from just feeling like he belongs as a Manchester United player.
Okay, let's move on to the big game today, this afternoon, at least afternoon in the UK. Liverpool, Man City, or Man City, Liverpool. It's a huge game, and they'll be buoyed by the Arsenal result, because sort of a few days ago I looked at if Arsenal were running away with things, but it just again, it just gives more spice to this game, because I think whoever wins are still going to be quite a few points behind Arsenal, but it's going to be a lot closer than what they would have anticipated. So there's a lot more at stake now. What's your thoughts? I mean, both teams have had some in different times throughout the season, but I think over the last few weeks, or the last results, I mean, the Liverpool Real Madrid, fantastic, outstanding, the best I've seen them play for quite a while. Man City, comprehensive win against Dortmund. So the two teams pretty confident. What's your thoughts and take on the game?
Yeah, very quickly. I mean, there's a little bit of a funny humor going around on Twitter or X, regarding obviously Arsenal's reliance on set pieces. And even me and my son have a bit of a joke about it when Arsenal score from a set pieces, that I just say, yeah, it's the strategy is set pieces and inshallah, essentially, just praying to the Lord. And right now it feels as though that way for Man City in terms of Erling Haaland and inshallah, so to speak. I mean, I've watched Man City very closely this season, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, but he takes that team from being an okay team, a fine team, a decent team, to a team that could win the league. That's the difference. It's a cataclysmic jump in terms of the potential ambitions of that football club resting on the shoulders of one human being. And it's not the manager, it's that striker. I mean, he is as deadly as they come. Carragher coined it. Is he the best goal scorer we've ever seen in the league? And listen, he's got a fair shout in terms of his contributions. Ridiculous numbers this season. He scores all the time. I mean, he's incredible, absolutely incredible. Their reliance on him cannot be overstated. And I don't mean it as a criticism. It happens sometimes naturally as clubs. I'm sure Arsenal at times are very reliant on Thierry Henry. I mean, it just naturally happens where one player just becomes the fulcrum and the epicenter of everything good that you do. But they don't have any chance of challenging for the title without him. None whatsoever. In my opinion, they look a very normal side when I watch them without him, although he's kept himself fit and available. But his involvement on that football pitch right now makes most teams very nervous because he's starting to run with a bit more conviction. They're finding him with a bit more regularity. He's running through. He looks strong. He should have had a hat-trick, at least 3 or 4 goals in the last week when he had those opportunities against Bournemouth. Still bagged himself a brace, I believe. So, look, he is what Man City... all the hopes of Man City are resting on that one individual. He's ridiculously good right now. I would back him to score. I know he's not always scored against Liverpool, but this man always scores right now. I mean, that's the way he is. He's that lethal right now. Liverpool, you're right, have just suddenly, I mean, they've got a good recovery result against Villa. Obviously, a good win in midweek. I watched a half against Real Madrid. Got a bit too late for my liking, but a good win against Real Madrid. A couple of clean sheets. So it's, a little bit of confidence starts to build. There's no recovery or no tonic in football than just picking up wins on that football pitch, especially at the highest level. And Villa and Real are a good opposition to win against Villa, especially with their resurgence in the league. So Liverpool will think, look, we can go to the Etihad, buoyed a little bit by Arsenal's dropping points against Sunderland, and think, look, can we go there and beat them? I thought it was their best performance last season. Yes, their standards were ridiculously high anyway, but that performance at the Etihad last season was their best performance, or one of their best performances last season, given the context of the game. I think they can go there with some confidence, no doubt. But it should be a fantastic game. You're expecting the big boys to turn up, your Haalands, your Salahs. I think the key for me is Szoboszlai. He's had a really good season so far. I've seen City a lot. They look a little vulnerable, in my opinion, from these deep runs, especially through the middle, especially when you can pull some of their players, let's say, aside. So I think deep midfield runs from your Szoboszlais could prove critical. But it should be a wonderful game. Two teams that want to get on the front foot, want to play. City perhaps a bit more patient than Liverpool right now. But Haaland is that guy right now. If Liverpool keep him quiet, they'll win the game. I can't see any other way. You've got to keep that guy quiet. And the thing is, right now, you can keep him quiet for 80 minutes, 85 minutes. He only needs 1 or 2 opportunities. And you'd fancy him to get at least 1 or 2 opportunities today. So, look, a huge game. From your perspective, Ayub, how do you see it? Is it more a case of, obviously, Arsenal would be hoping for a draw. There's no two ways about it. But from your perspective, who do you think is better situated right now to challenge Arsenal for the Premier League trophy? Do you think it's a more critical game for City or Liverpool? Or do you think if Liverpool win, they can really get themselves in amongst Arsenal for sure? Whereas with Man City, you might still have that question mark. Well, what if Haaland misses 5 or 6 games? How do you see it in terms of criticality? Man City or Liverpool?
You've summed it up. Haaland. I mean, Haaland is so instrumental to this Manchester City side. I mean, before they used to have a number of players that sort of made up this great City side. At the moment, it's only Haaland. So for Arsenal, I think they'll be hoping it's a Man City win, even though that brings them closer. I think Man City are much more likely to have slip-ups. I think what I saw from Liverpool as a collective is players starting to hit the peak because there's a number. I mean, it's a much better squad, much rounded squad. I think City are just too reliant on Erling Haaland, and he's going to have a phase whether he's either injured or maybe he's just not going to sort of quite be firing. It's highly unlikely because his track record shows that he's very, very rarely has goal drought. So in terms of challenging for the Premier League, it has to be a Liverpool win, and I think they will win today, and I think they'll probably win quite comfortably. I've got to say that win against Real Madrid. It was an outstanding. It's probably the most thumping 1-0 victory I've ever seen. I mean, if it weren't for the best keeper in the world, Courtois, it would have been much more. But it was more. It was a lot of the players that we've been thinking perhaps they're just not on it, we're on it. And I think that will give them a tremendous amount of confidence. I think City, it's just too hit and miss. It's too hit and miss. You can't be challenging for the title and just relying on one player. Yes, you can have your goal dust player, but the rest of the team has to be sort of chipping in, contributing. I just don't think there's enough quality in that City squad. So I reckon it's a comfortable win for Liverpool today, and it will. I'm not going to sort of say that they that this is going to be what sort of kickstarts them to
Mm.
challenge the Arsenal, but it's certainly the only team that I really see a serious threat to Arsenal is Liverpool. So that's why it has to be a Liverpool win if Liverpool are going to win the league. And they
Yeah,
will
I mean,
do
look,
today.
let's see. I mean, City, if they can get Rodri back healthy and firing, then that gives them, let's say, two bona fide world-class footballers at their football club. Now, look, the goalkeeper's very good, but the goalkeeper, yeah, he's going to do his bit. I mean, I made a mistake for the last week's goal, but he's world class. There's no two ways about it. They've got Ruben Diaz. So the spine looks decent when fit, when healthy, when consistently firing. But you mentioned that word gold dust, and he's an absolute animal right now in terms of what he's producing numbers wise. He's giving defenders a real hard time, and Liverpool have to be very careful about the situations they find themselves in terms of where he isolates him. Yes, Van Dijk's had good games against him, but this is a defender's lot. You can have a good game for 80 minutes, 85 minutes. Striker only needs one situation to fall his way, and he's looking
Mm,
fast. He's looking sharp.
yeah.
He's you wouldn't want to find yourself on the halfway line. You saw what he did to those Arsenal centre backs with that
Yeah.
first goal. You saw what he did with some of the other situations he had against Bournemouth. If he's clear from the halfway line, you're not catching him. It's as simple as that. So, absolute gazelle when it comes to, let's say, kind of those kind of free spaces to run into. And that's what makes these storylines great for me. It's like City are not the City what they were. Let's not mince it. They've not got enough world class footballers at the top of their game that they have in previous years. But there's this wonderful subplot of still the best centre back in the league. You'd have to still give him the nod against the best striker in the league, and
Mm,
that's absolutely not debatable right now. Both clubs trying to establish themselves in this Premier League title race. Both have had big question marks already this season. We're only in November right now, so there is a lot resting on it. Now, some might have said if Arsenal won yesterday, still this is just sporting commentary that whoever loses is out of the title race. I don't think that's the case. It's a moot point now anyway with Arsenal's draw, but it does feel important from a psychological perspective because these are the two preeminent footballing teams in the league in terms of the last 5 to 10 years. So it feels as though who's going to put their head above the parapet, so to speak, and say, right, we're ready here. We can go, we
mm.
can kick on because both teams have had a little bit of a wobble, and it's fine having those wobbles early on if you can really then start to kick on. So huge opportunity. You seem a bit more bullish towards Liverpool, although I still think there's many ways for Liverpool to win. I'm going to go for a draw just because I think the game could meander a little bit if it is a draw, let's say from 65th, 70th minute onwards, where you think both teams, not saying settle for a draw, but just scared to make mistakes, let's say. So it should be a fantastic watch. Hopefully it is a good watch. I'm not sure what the weather's like in Manchester. You'll have to tell me. So I don't know if it's going to be raining or what have you, but should be a fantastic affair. I'm going to go for a draw, maybe a score draw 1-1 with Haaland scoring. But yeah, should be a fantastic game. I'm going to switch it up just very quickly, Ayub. It'd be remiss for us not to discuss your beloved Leeds. I say beloved loosely because anyone who's heard you talk about Leeds would not show how much love you have for them. It's a big game, isn't it? Your West Ham won again yesterday. This is getting to that part of the season where you think, Wolves are just about to appoint Rob Edwards. They lost yesterday in convincing fashion against Chelsea. It's a big game. It's Forest, who've been hit and miss under Sean Dyche so far. How do you see it, Ayub? And do you hold any hope for today's game?
A quick answer would be no. Absolutely not. I mean, I think,
Right, that was a good episode. Right, let's.
yeah, yeah. Have a great rest of the Sunday. Yeah, yeah. I don't because I've been hugely critical, and I think in a bizarre sort of way, I think the Sunderland result sort of compounds the frustration that we have because we've just it's we've been let down hugely let down by the owners. And in a sense, they're responsible for the manager as well. So we've got a manager who I obviously have huge question marks over, and then we've got owners who have just negligence, pure negligence. I mean, I can't see or understand why they've done what they've done because if getting to the Premier League is is a mission and it's something that sort of owners aspire to, then why do what they've done? Because this is an absolute dereliction of duty. We've got a really woeful squad, an ordinary squad, an average squad, a very, very mediocre manager. I've given up. I think we are down. This is if we've to have any chances, it's a must win because then I think our next 3 or 4 fixtures up until Christmas is just it's they're we're not getting nothing out of those games because we're playing all the big teams. In fact, I mean, some would argue that every team that we play is sort of bigger than us, and then that's true. I would actually go as far as sort of
Goodness
saying we have,
gracious.
without doubt, the worst squad in the Premier League,
It's. I was just
and
going to
this
say
includes Burnley.
yeah, it's a tough run of games. You're absolutely right. Villa, City, Chelsea, Liverpool. After this game today, you're right. If you lose today, you're going to find yourself in the relegation zone after
Yeah,
those
yeah.
4 games.
And we're not moving out. We're not moving out. And this could have been so avoidable. We were promoted well before Sunderland, and look where Sunderland are. And this is why the frustration. I mean, as I said yesterday, I went onto X, and I just went through the Leeds timeline, and every single comment was talking about Sunderland and saying that this is what we should have been doing. And it's not rocket science. I mean, it wasn't a case of and the club, the first signing we made was Lucas Nemecha, a free signing, somebody who's pulled up absolutely no trees, uh, and that was the catalyst for the absolute nonsense that sort of transpired afterwards. So there's a part of me almost sort of wishing for us to get relegated because you have owners who have I have no idea. I cannot understand what their rationale is. Now, these are the same owners now they bought Rangers as well. So whether they've taken the eye off the ball and perhaps focused
Mm.
on another club, I don't know. But we've been shortchanged. The fans have been shortchanged. I mean, really, if I had any influence over Leeds fans, I would say don't turn up to Ellen Road. This is the
And
only way to 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 sort of express your anger at owners who have absolutely let us down. I'm furious. I genuinely am because, well, I mean, as I said, Sunderland is really what I look at, and it's what could have been.
just support Sunderland. It's fine. The way you've been waxing lyrical about it, I think that, I imagine like in the next episode you'll be talking with a bit of a Geordie twang or something like or
Why
a
are you mad?
Northeast twang. Yeah, exactly, exactly. A bit of no, I mean, look, you're right. It's looking at those fixtures does it heighten the level of urgency for today's game. I mean, you've got to pick up something. And Nottingham Forest, I mean, West Ham, I think have won back to back, haven't they? If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. So that's the difficult thing because that third spot, it looked like three were not cast adrift, of course, not at this early stage, but at least there was some gap there. Now with West Ham's back-to-back win, big one yesterday against Burnley, that's really got them back in the reckoning. And they could now obviously go from strength to strength, although they've got a very limited, in my opinion, player personnel as well. But you're right; it's a huge game. Forest are at 6 points. You guys, I think, are at 11. So it's an opportunity to put some distance if you can stomach up a big performance, which I'm not sure if these players, like you said, are capable
no
of, or this
chance.
manager's capable of. So a huge game. I'm with you. You're not picking up a point in the 4 games after that.
Yeah,
Chelsea, City, simply because those teams can just get through you much quicker, much easier, much smoother. I mean, you're not stopping Haaland, Leeds born Erling Haaland, as he often
yeah,
reminds
yeah.
us
I
of.
forgot
So,
to mention that. Yeah,
yeah, he's one of our
the
own. He's
greatest
one of our
striker
own.
on earth, Leeds born.
Yeah, Leeds born, exactly. Look, yeah, difficult times for Leeds right now, but the Premier League gives you these opportunities, right? You've got to prove it. It's a meritocracy. You've got to prove it on the footballing pitch in terms of your your willingness and your desire to stay in the league. Those opportunities come every Saturday. Leeds have got to show some fortitude and character because right now they're just drifting, aren't they, Ayub? They're drifting
Mm.
without much conviction up the pitch and without an ability to keep clean sheets, which was at least you saw a bit more of that in the early part of the season. So, yeah, let's see. A huge game. If they can pick up a win it really puts them in good shape, because even heading into those 4 games, still some of the other teams down at the bottom will be playing some tough teams along the way as well. So, yeah, big game. Still some rumblings about the manager. Not sure he survives a defeat today and then potentially 4 more defeats after that. He will not survive that, I don't think. So yeah, a lot of pressure on the coach as well. Let's see. I wish you good luck.
Yeah, well, I think we'll need all the luck and I think divine intervention, really, because at the moment, the way things are going, that's the only way we're going to get a result. Well, right, on that depressing note, I think we'll sort of bid fond farewell to our audiences. So, as always, thank you for watching. Always, thank you for your company, as always. So, until the next time, hopefully, I'll be in good spirits because Leeds might have picked up 3 points, but I don't think so. All right, until then, see you later.
Bad chance.